Hey, what's up, guys? Today's May the 5th, the day after May 4th. Many of you, like me, spent yesterday watching some Star Wars movies, if you're into that thing. And I think Star Wars is a helpful tool to teach us a lesson for these times. What does dilemma do to our faith? Let's jump in. Hey, be sure to stay tuned to the end of this video and look for the character that I'll put up on the screen. If the first person to identify this wins a Star Wars prize. So yesterday was May the 4th. As I said, it's become Star Wars Celebration Day. And like many of you, we watched some Star Wars movies and all was well. I'll spare you some of the spoilers just in case you maybe haven't gotten to the one we watched. But nonetheless, they're the main character in Star Wars, especially a lot of the older, or the newer ones rather. We find Rey, the main character, facing a lot of difficult choices, where both of her choices seem the same in the sense that they're equally undesirable. So here's one that we watched yesterday. It was like, do we succumb to dark forces, or does she have her friends perish? Now that's a dilemma. A dilemma is this: a situation where a difficult choice has to be made and both choices seem equally undesirable. So what do we do when our faith comes up against these kind of things, these kind of dilemmas? Again, a dilemma is hard because a dilemma disorients us. It kind of makes us lose our footing a little bit in the midst of a situation. But here's what I want to challenge you with today as we look at Habakkuk. A dilemma is often a companion to faith. So you might be saying, Brandon, how in the world can a dilemma actually be something that is a companion or a helpmate to faith? Well, dilemmas actually cause us to cast our confidence on God in the midst of just confusing, disorienting circumstances where no right choice seems to be there. And so when our confidence in God actually grows in the midst of a dilemma, that's when we begin to walk by faith. And this is when we know that our trust in God is actually the thing that's leading us. So Habakkuk takes his dilemma to God and brings his confusion into the midst of God through prayer. And so his challenging dialogue with God gives him a deeper knowledge of God, and a deeper trust in God comes out of that. His faith actually matures as he does this. And so what he has learned of God leaves him in awe. That's what this first section of chapter 3 is getting at here. These first 3 verses of chapter 3 of Habakkuk is left not with all of his questions answered, all of his boxes checked, but his trust in God has been broadened in the midst of this. So that's when we begin to walk by faith, and that's when we know that our trust in God is actually leading us. There are dilemmas all over the Bible. So think about one, for instance. Think about the Israelites through the Exodus as they come up on the Red Sea. And on one end of the equation, they have potential drowning in the Red Sea. And on the other end of things, they've got this army kind of heading at them at full speed, just billowing towards them. That's a dilemma. And the same is here in Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 1 through 15. Habakkuk, however, shows us how to respond to this by modeling for us. He actually brings his dilemma to God and turns it into a prayer. So I want to challenge you to read the first 15 verses of Habakkuk, and I want to give you 4 images that this psalm of Habakkuk gives us of how to respond in a dilemma situation. The first one is this: that God leaves us awestruck often in our dilemmas. That's what Habakkuk finds himself. Again, he hasn't got all of his questions answered, but he's awestruck. Secondly, God is a victorious warrior in the midst of this. We get this scene of God being this kind of cosmic warrior, and what we see here doesn't even Infinity War doesn't even come close to what's this kind of cosmic battle that we see here. So God is leaving us awestruck. He's a victorious warrior. And then we see that God is someone who acts in history. And specifically, not only does God act in history, but he acts on behalf of his people. If you look at verse 13, it says that God goes forth for the salvation of his people, and he crushes the head of the house of the wicked, laying him bare for the righteous. He does this for his people. And so God acts in history on behalf of his people. So God has acted in history in the past, so we can be certain he's going to act in our present circumstances as well. And so remembering, so the first way to respond is to pray in the midst of dilemma. The second image here is remembering in the midst of dilemma. So remembering is one of the best responses to a dilemma situation. So here's what remembering is. Remembering is this: interpreting our circumstances through God's history and promises. Interpreting our circumstances through God's history and promises. So remembering asks, what could God be doing? What is he trying to show me? What is he trying to teach me? And what do I need to learn of this about him and about how I am meant to trust him? So what does this passage show us? It shows us we can be assured that God will act on behalf of us, of his people who have trusted him by faith, by receiving the gift of salvation in Jesus, that God will act on behalf of his people because he has acted on our behalf in history in the past. You see, when we remember, we actually place ourselves to be able to see past mercies, to look at past mercies. And when we look at past mercies, we are positioned to see present and future ones. So what does dilemma have to do with faith? What we do with our dilemma situations will determine how real our faith in Jesus really is. So don't run from your dilemma. Bring it to the Lord and actually know that your dilemma are often moments that are companions to faith, but also they're packed with the potential to leave us awestruck with God as we bring those moments to him in prayer and we trust in remembrance in the midst of them. So here we go. Who is this character? Answer in the comments below. First one. So hey guys, we love you. We miss you. We can't wait to be able to see you very soon. And we hope you're having a blessed week in this time. We love you.